The Vladimir Putin-Xi Jinping bonhomie has ruffled a few feathers in the West in the recent past. The two have often called each old and dear friends, reiterating their no-limits friendship. They have openly challenged the West, announcing their joint objective of setting up a new global order. But cracks now seem to be emerging between the two sworn allies. So, is China trying to play Big Brother as Russia finds itself embroiled in a war with Ukraine? Will Putin agree to play a junior role in the China-Russia relationship amid global sanctions? Will China's belligerence and imperialist ambitions take the sheen off Russia-China relationship? Remember, back in 2022, when Russia invaded Ukraine, the country found itself increasingly isolated on the global stage. Western markets, particularly Europe, turned their backs on Russian gas and oil, cutting off critical revenue streams. Countries like Germany, once heavily reliant on Russian energy, also slammed the brakes on ties. Enter China, a superpower thirsty for new gas supplies. And on the other side Russia, desperate for new markets. Their shared antipathy towards the West acting as the glue that would likely keep the partnership going. Xi and Putin even started planning a new pipeline called E-Power of Siberia 2E to pump gas straight from Russia to China.
We just discussed a good project, the new gas pipeline Power of Siberia 2 through Mongolia. Almost all the parameters of this agreement have been concerted. This is 50 billion cubic meters of gas from reliable, stable supplies from Russia.
China's interest in Russian energy wasn't merely opportunistic, it was strategic. With its vast energy needs, Beijing proposed the E-Power of Siberia 2 pipeline to transport up to 50 billion cubic meters of natural gas annually from Russia to China. This massive project seemed like a win-win. Russia would find a new market for its gas, and China would secure a steady supply.
Our strategic alliance in the energy sector, which has become the supporting pillar of the entire global energy market, will, I am sure, be further strengthened. Russia is ready and able to supply the Chinese economy, enterprises, cities and towns with clean, affordable energy, light and heat in an uninterrupted and reliable manner.
However, the dynamics of this deal have shifted dramatically. What once appeared to be a lifeline for Russia is now looking more like a noose. China, leveraging its economic might, is driving a hard bargain. Beijing insists on paying only Russia's heavily subsidized domestic prices for the gas, which is far below international market rates. Moreover, China is reluctant to commit to purchasing substantial quantities of gas annually, leaving Russia in a precarious position. Russia's state-owned gas giant, Gazprom, is already bleeding. Last year, Gazprom reported a staggering $6.9 billion loss, the first in 20 years. This financial hemorrhage underscores the urgent need for new revenue sources. Yet, China's tough stance only adds to Gazprom's woes. The absence of Gazprom's CEO, Alexei Miller, from President Vladimir Putin's trip to Beijing in May, is also telling. Miller had been a key figure in previous Sino-Russian energy talks, and his exclusion suggests significant friction in the ongoing negotiations. Russia's dependency on China is growing, but Beijing is not afraid to flex its economic muscles, knowing Moscow has limited alternatives. The power dynamics between China and Russia have undergone a profound transformation since the invasion of Ukraine. With Western markets increasingly off-limits, China has become indispensable to Russia's economic survival. The collapse of the Nord Stream 2 pipeline project and the severing of economic ties with Europe have left Russia with few options but to turn eastward. However, China seems to be exploiting this vulnerability. Beijing's aggressive negotiating tactics in the E-Power of Siberia 2 project are just one example of how it is extracting a price from Russia. Despite the rhetoric of a friendship without limits, it's clear that China will not hesitate to prioritize its interests over Moscow's. This newfound leverage allows China to drive harder bargains and dictate terms, leaving Russia in a weaker negotiating position. In May, President Vladimir Putin visited China, his first trip in his fifth term as president. Putin intended to showcase the strength of Sino-Russian relations and solidify economic and military cooperation.
Russia-China relations have developed dynamically and reached an unprecedented high level. They are built on a solid foundation of good neighborliness, equality, mutual respect, and support. It is this strategic course that meets the fundamental interests of the peoples of Russia and China.
However, during the visit, the contrast between the two leaders was stark. While Putin showered Chinese President Xi Jinping with compliments, Xi's rhetoric was noticeably more reserved. This cautious approach underscores China's balancing act. Beijing is navigating its support for Moscow, while managing its complex relationships with Western nations. Interestingly, there are also signs that she is wary of the deepening ties between Russia and North Korea. Reports suggest that Beijing advised President Putin against visiting Pyongyang immediately after meeting with Xi in May. Chinese officials were reportedly concerned about the optics of such a visit, especially given the West's scrutiny of Beijing's actions. Meanwhile, Putin's recent visit to North Korea and its announcement of deepening military ties with Kim Jong-un, while completely bypassing China, raised diplomatic eyebrows. Xi Jinping is under significant pressure from the United States and Europe to reduce support for Russia and halt the alleged sale of components fueling Moscow's war effort. While Beijing has not condemned Russia's invasion of Ukraine, it has refrained from providing substantial military aid. China has been trying very hard to maintain a delicate balance, something the US has called them out for.
The People's Republic of China cannot have its cake and eat it too. You can't have it both ways. You can't want to have good, further, stronger, deepened relationships with Europe and other countries while simultaneously continuing to fuel the biggest threat to European security in a long time.
China's global ambitions require it to maintain favorable relationships with key economic partners. As the world's second-largest economy, Beijing is aware of the need for foreign tourists and investments to sustain growth. The recent initiatives to offer visa-free travel to visitors from parts of Europe, Thailand, and Australia, and the return of China's pandas to foreign zoos, are part of a broader effort to bolster its international image. The unfolding dynamics between China and Russia highlight the shifting landscape of global alliances and power. China is playing economic hardball with Russia, leveraging its position to secure favorable terms in energy deals. For a heavily sanctioned and economically isolated Russia, the stakes are incredibly high. While Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un can afford to antagonize the West, China finds itself in a different position. As Xi Jinping seeks to elevate China's global role and challenge US dominance, he must navigate a complex international landscape. Alienating the West further is not a viable option for Beijing, given its need for economic stability and growth. China is walking a global tightrope. They're keeping Russia close, but not too close as they try to maintain ties with the West, even as tensions rise. It'll be interesting to see how long China can keep this juggling act going.